Hi everyone, this is a quick lecture that will help you with finding news sources, which is what you're going to be tasked with for the next assignment. In fact, this upcoming assignment is going to have you find two news items, one using the open web or whatever web-based tool you want to use, and then you'll use one of the library subscribed newspaper databases to find your second source. And then you're going to, between those, pick the better one, cite it, and evaluate it. And so we'll talk about a little bit about that, but really go ahead and open up that assignment document and you'll have all the details about what I'm talking about. So if anything feels weird, look back at that document and that should answer any questions you might have at this point. So, like I said, you're going to be tasked with finding at least two articles, one from Open Web, one from library databases. So what I mean by open web is just Google, and you can use Google News, you can use Yahoo News, you can use specific news websites if there's a source that you find particularly reliable, like NewYorkTimes.com. You can certainly search directly within that. Same with USA Today, Washington Post, if you prefer Fox, if you prefer Washington Times, anything that you like is fine with me. And then also social media pushes. If you happen to find an article that just simply comes through your news feed and it happens to be relevant to your research question, feel free to use it. That's fine for that portion of the assignment. And then the other portion is going to have you actually search in our library databases. And the ones that I'm suggesting that you use are things like LexisNexis Academic, America's News Bank, America's News Bank, Academic Search Complete, Factiva, or if you have a historically based research question, feel free to use some of our historical newspaper databases as well. So LexisNexis Academic provides you with national and international news sources. And these are really coming from the big ones. So things like New York Times, USA Today, Washington Post, and then also there's lots of international coverage. So you might find things from like the China Daily or big papers that get lots of circulation throughout the world. They also have campus wire newspapers, so that's things like the Daily Gamecock and other newspapers that are on college campuses. And the main thing to remember here is to select all news. So let me show you what I'm talking about just a second. So when you get to where you are searching our library newspaper databases, the first step, as always, is going to be going to the homepage, library.sc.edu, and clicking Articles and Databases. This will take you to the landing page, as we've seen before. And from here, you can go to L and click LexisNexis if that's one you want to try. You can go to A and do America's News. But you can also just scroll right down here by the type, as we've discussed before, and click Newspapers and Magazines. And then these are all the databases that include newspapers. So you'll see America's News, Newsbank is there, LexisNexis Academic, you've got Factiva, some of our historical newspapers, you've got The State, right there on that first part of the list. But if you go into LexisNexis Academic, you'll need to log in, as always, and we'll do that very, very quickly. And the thing about LexisNexis that sort of throws people off sometimes is that it's very ambitious in what it tries to do. So it's not just a newspaper database, it also has legal case information and company info. And if you were just to do a search on anything, you're searching all three of those categories. And you probably don't want legal cases and company info at this point. So you can go up here to where it says search by subject or topic and just tell it, I don't want any of that, I just want news, and we'll take all news. You'll see it takes away all those other options. And then you can still do an advanced search, which I do encourage you to think about, because here you can say, okay, I don't even just want all newspapers, but I'm really just curious about the U.S. newspapers. And then you can apply that. If you have a very regionally based research question, you might want to choose geographic location. You can do it by regions. You can do it by specific states as well. But once you do that, you can click apply. Oh, one more thing is if you have a very specific date range that corresponds with your topic, you want to set that as well. But for now, we can just do apply. And then if we wanted to search something like 3D printing and its use in medicine, we can do 3D printing and medicine. And the other thing about LexisNexis is expect a good amount of results with pretty much every search. And we'll see, you see this one came up with 283. And the other thing about LexisNexis is everything is really neat and nice in full text. So you can go straight to it. We've got 3D printing will transform 5 industries. Let's see what these advancements are all about. And some is in healthcare. And so you get the full article right here. You can read it right within the browser. You don't have to download a PDF or anything like that. And there is some citation help with this little book. If you want to export bibliographic references, you can click that little book, and what it can do is you can actually export an APA citation. If you come and do display bibliographic information, change it to APA, click export, and then you've got at least an idea of what an APA citation for this article might look like. It's getting a little ahead of ourselves, but it is key to note that that option is available, and that's basically the nuts and bolts of using LexisNexis Academic. Just remember that front page, search by subject or topic, all news will make your life a lot easier. Okay, so let's go back to our slides, and we'll move on to the next one. And this is America's News Newsbank. So this one I encourage you to use if you have a topic that's not quite so national in scope, maybe something a little bit more localized, because this is the database that provides local and statewide news sources. So this provides things like the State, the Greenville News, Charleston Courier. There are some bigger titles like LA Times, Boston Globe, but it doesn't include the big titles like Washington Times, New York Times, and the other national ones. That's where LexisNexis comes in. And again, this one can be found in the same way that we access LexisNexis, through that articles and databases page. And really what you want to keep in mind is if you're not finding a lot of good stuff in, say, LexisNexis, switch over to America's News. See if there's anything better there while searching for your topic. And you can mix and match and go back and forth until you find a decent and relevant newspaper article that relates to your topic. So there are some aggregators that do have access to news sources. So things like Academic Search Complete, which you can use it. Just remember that mostly this is an index for news sources, meaning that you might find article titles and information about a news item that's based on your topic, but the full text of it might be elsewhere. So you can discover it, but you might have to either go to that newspaper's website to find the full text, or you may even go to something like LexisNexis to find the full text. And just keep that in mind if you do decide to use Academic Search Complete. It's not a bad idea, it just, you might not have the full text right there available within the database. If you have any issues with that, let me know. There's another one called Opposing Viewpoints in Context, also can be found from the Articles and Databases page, just by going to the letter O. It also aggregates lots of different source types, including news. Its coverage is a little bit more limited. It does have coverage to things like, it does have access to things like USA Today, I think NPR, maybe some nytimes.com articles, but it's not terribly dense like LexisNexis is. And then there's another aggregator called Factiva that also has access to some news items, particularly though it's the only database that provides access to the Wall Street Journal. If you feel like you need to look for articles in the Wall Street Journal, you will use Factiva, and it is on that newspapers and magazines list as well. It is sort of hard to use, so if you have a topic that's maybe finance-based or just would be helpful to use Wall Street Journal for, feel free to let me know. Factiva is not the easiest thing to use, so shoot me an email and say, hey, I was planning on using Wall Street Journal. Can you help me with actually accessing it? I can certainly help with that. But at the moment, it's not really worth going into because I'm not sure how many people would actually find it relevant. So we'll move along. And so evaluating news items requires quite a bit of stuff. So we've got authorship is one of our main ones. And honestly, we're just going to go through the exact same evaluative parameters that we spoke of in the critical evaluations lecture. And so that's authorship, intent, objectivity, credibility / reliability, currency, and of course coverage, which I failed to animate here, so you saw it the whole time. No big deal. And so these are the elements that you're going to want to address when you're evaluating the news source that you settle upon. So who wrote it? What are their credentials? What's their expertise? What have they written on in the past that makes them credible to write about this topic now? Intent, objectivity, what's the point of the article? What is it meant to convey? Is it objective? Or is there bias that you can see? Credibility, reliability, are there things that the person cites? If so, how well do they do it? Does it cite things that need further exploration? And does it have any elements that could make this a not so credible source of information? Currency deals with how recent it is in relation to your topic, and then of course coverage talks about it, mostly its relevance to your research question. But if you have any questions about the actual evaluative elements, please refer back to the Critical Evaluations lecture for more details. For now though, this is going to wrap up this quick lecture, and remember, the next item that you will have due is the newspaper the news source assignment, where you will find 2 news items, pick one to focus on, and evaluate it through writing using these evaluative elements here. If you have any questions, as always, please let me know. Thank you.